Welcome to the panel, The New Age of IT and Sustainability. Thinking about the new age of IT and sustainability is a quite huge topic. You can think about IT making innovative materials possible, about smarter manufacturing, software for tracking the entire production chain, and so making this process transparent for the client. You can also think about smart clauses for bridging the real and the virtual world, like haptic suits or motion capture devices. With a virtual world like we see with the vision of the metaverse, virtual clothing itself becomes a huge topic. Today, we will focus on sustainability as well as fashion and virtual worlds. For this, we have two fantastic speakers. One is Christiane Luible from University of Art and Design. She is co-director of the Fashion and Technology Department of the University of Art and Design Linz. Her research focuses on the digital fashion and on sustainable processes and methods for both virtual and analog fashion. She leads a research project on fashion and robotics. One of her many projects is the Re-Fream Project. She worked on innovations like e-tailer, leapfrog, and haptics. And the second speaker is Liedtke from the Fabricant. She's a digital fashion director of the Fabricant. The Fabricant is a digital-only fashion brand, photorealistic virtual fashion platform for designers and brands. Started as a traditional designer for brands like Hugo Boss and then moved to virtual. We will shortly start with the presentations of Anna and Christiane. You will have time. You will have time after the presentation for your questions. In the meantime, you can write the questions in the Q&A section, and I will try to address them later. Now, Christiane, the stage is yours.
Hello, everybody, and thank you, Clemens, for this introduction. And thank you very much for the invitation to speak about the new age of IT and sustainability. As you mentioned, Clemens, today it seems like there's a constantly increasing number of technologies available for fashion. We hear about AI in the design process. We also speak about AI in sorting processes and textile waste sorting. We hear about digital twin, about blockchain technology, about NFTs, metaverse, big data, and so on and so forth. These technologies also make our time very exciting to think about what these technologies could bring for our field for fashion. But when we start working with these new technologies in fashion, we often start the development process by asking the question, what a new technology is able to do, or what potential a new technology has. In doing so, the projects that deal with the new technology often became a proof of concept from a technological point of view. The technology is in the center of the design project. But in applying this approach, the resulting artifacts usually have no deeper emotional meaning for us, for the wearer. And in the end, they do not work. Often the developed objects are not accepted as fashion objects. We see this a lot today in the smart clothing sector. In terms of sustainability, however, it is very important that projects have a meaning for us, for the wearer, and that they transport a value, that they appeal to us emotionally. This is the key factor, because the objects that are valuable things for us, we do not easily ban from our real or from our digital closet so quickly. But this means that we rather need to consider what are our ambitions and goals for fashion when we work on a fashion project, and then consider whether a technology can contribute to achieve that goal. In the following, I will show you results from research projects, also as Clemens mentioned, from the Re-Fream research project. And then I show you a few other projects. And each project has a story to tell. It is a story how we can rethink or reinvent something, what the urgency of the current situation requires us to do. As mentioned before, I would like to speak about the Re-Fream project first. Re-Fream is a project from the START initiative. And the START initiative, it's from the European Union, and in fact, it's about creating valuable new perspectives from an art and design viewpoint. So a few key figures about the Re-Fream project. This project was over 3 years, and in these 3 years, we organized 2 calls where we asked designers and artists to hand in their concept. And the artists, they work on 3 challenges in 3 different co-creation spaces. We had a space in Berlin, focusing more on smart textiles. We had a space in Valencia, which is more was working on materials, and we had a hub in Linz, and the goal in the hub Linz was from 2D to 3D, and we focused on 3D printing technology. And the artists and the scientists, so we had 2020, they worked over 9 months, and each artist received 55,000 euros for this project. And here are the artists we were working with. So there are some well-known people, but it was really a broad variety from people just finishing studies and having a lot of experience. It was really a very broad variety. And here is what we basically did in Re-Fream. It was co-creation. So the artists, even it was in the pandemic, it was sometimes difficult to go in the labs, but we managed to. So the people, they really went to Valencia, to Berlin, and to Linz, and they co-created next to the scientists. And it was a real exchange. And the art project was in the center to bring forward the art, but also the technology. And now, next, I would like to show one example actually, I show you 3 examples, but I want to start with Syntropia. It's a project from Sofia Guggenberger and Eugenia Morpurgo. And this is, they were in Hub Linz working on 3D printing. So if you see the picture, you would not easily see 3D printing. It's not the typical aesthetic, what you expect. But for me, they are really the perfect example how, by inventing a new process, how you can co-create with nature, and with the process, you can transport new values within a product. So they really show that today it's not about a fashion product or a fashion object, it's about the whole process and the values, what you transport with it. So here I start the video. It's about 5 minutes, and I will be really silent and let you dive deep into the world of Eugenia and Sofia. will stop this video here so we can see that this is really a perfect example that a new technology or a technology like the 3D printing, it's not necessary to see this in the final product. And like how a product can transport more than just the final object. It's a modular project, it's easy to replaceable, and it's in line with the needs of the nature. The next project I would like to show to you is the project of Silke Hoffmann. It's called the Nest-based clothing design, and as I mentioned before, Sophia and Eugenia, they co-create with nature, and here Silke Hoffmann, she co-creates with the wearer. I say wearer and not user, because wearer means that there's a person behind. Today we are so much used to work with garment sizes and just have a certain size and measurements behind. But a person is much more than just the dimension of the body. A person has special needs. And Silke Hoffmann, in her project, she created a bra for breast cancer patients. And she developed not just a bra, in the end it was a garment, and she 3D printed on top so that the knitted garment has a certain kind of elasticity. And so she somehow created a new material. I will also partly show the video to stay in time we have. But here it's really important to see that you can enter in a dialogue with the user and with the wearer.
Der Träger hat halt ein Bedürfnis und du als Experte verstehst dieses Bedürfnis und wandelst es aufgrund von deinem Know-how und deinem Stil in etwas um.
Und der Bekleidungsträger hat eben ein ebenso starkes Expertenwissen, weil der weiß, wie es sich anfühlt.
Wie es sich anfühlt. Das ist auch das, was ich mir immer denke, wenn es um das Wort Patient Empowerment geht. Da würde ich mir nämlich auch genau das erwarten, dass der Patient, die Patientin als Expertin mit in diesen Kreis auf einer Ebene mit reingeholt wird.
Ja.
Genau, das ist wolle Seide.
Das ist jetzt natürlich ein Schema, ne? Also der Strick verhält sich immer ein bisschen länger oder ein bisschen breiter. Die Mitte, was haben wir hier? Das 2-1 ist hier drin, ne? Hier ist.
So, oder auch dann eben, wenn du Spannung aufbaust, ist eigentlich hier vorne das eher ausgeglichen.
Ja, hier manchmal auf jeden Fall wird es unangenehm, wenn man sich so beugt.
Ja.
Am Rücken hast du auf der linken Seite das linke Schulterblatt, das geht leicht stärker in den Körper rein, und deswegen dachte ich, dass du vielleicht auf der linken Seite so eine leichte Schonhaltung eingenommen hast.
Ja, das kann durch die Operation natürlich sein.
Ja.
Mhm. Ja.
Es muss genau die Mischung sein aus Stabilität und trotzdem Bequemlichkeit, ne?
Ja.
Also sozusagen.
Also hier habe ich eigentlich das Gefühl, dass es ziemlich genau passt.
Vielleicht guckt man auch erstmal wirklich, wenn das hier oben sitzt und der Raum hat,
Dass die Brust hört nämlich nicht da.
I also stopped the video here, and I think here we can see very good that here the wearer, the patient is in the foreground and not the technology. And also Silke is a very good example how we can work with technology in the future. It's a teamwork. It's not about the designer, and it's not about, it's a co-creation of various experts. She had a whole team and she moderated this team of 6 people. So I think this is also a very important new way of working. A next example, I will just show a quick picture because Asa is presenting himself tomorrow in the marketplace. And Asa, he's co-creating not with the wearer, but now with the user. Because he made a shoe, and this shoe, it's a kind of 4D print, and it captures the wearing behavior of the user. So you buy once the shoe, and the shoe is capturing your wearing behavior and is registers this. And then if you have the next shoe, your wearing behavior is already incremented in the new shoe. And so by the wearing of the shoe, so it's like a co-creation between the user and the product. It's a kind of augmented product for the future. I can really recommend to listen to ASA tomorrow in the marketplace. Next, I will speak about another research project. So before this was Re-Fream, now I speak about the research project Fashion and Robotics. This is an Austrian-funded research project, and it's about the combination of fashion, robotics, and biomaterial. So it's an area of people who normally do not work together. We are very lucky at the Kunst University in Linz. We have a lab of creative robotics from Johannes Braumann, and we collaborate a lot with him. And together we wrote this research project, and we also collaborate with the Institute of Biomechatronics to develop biomaterials. And the main goal of this project is also to bring the fashion from 2D to 3D and to make a kind of directly informed 3D garment by using technology like as robotic 3D printing, and then to translate these processes for biomaterials. So I show you also a video, then it's a bit maybe more clear. So in fact, we try to capture with motion tracking the hand movement of experts. In fashion, we work a lot with draping. And so when we capture this draping movement of the draping experts, we can translate this movement with the robot and directly work in 3D on a mannequin. So it's digital, yes, because we need to steer the robot digitally, but then it's an analog process. And here we made experiments with a cutting knife, but you can put all kinds of tools on the robot. You can also put a 3D printing tool like an extruder on the robot, or you have a cutting knife, or you have a sewing machine on the robot. There are all kinds of tools, and we can steer the robot. And here you see the interface, how we can digitally steer this robot. And I think this has a huge potential in the future in the sustainability, not only to make new garments, but if we now see of worn textile, we heard a lot the word repairing in the panel in the morning. So of course, this is also a method to work on repairing with the robot. And also we have also to be honest, we have a lot of dirty and processes in the recycling, what are bad for health. So it's also good to implement the robot, for example, in recycling processes, for example, to remove metal parts or to remove parts of the fabric or of the garment what we cannot recycle, or for sorting waste. So the robot has a lot of potential for doing these expert movements. I also, for everything what today for the light construction. You know this a lot for airplanes. A braiding machine you see normally in research center or in big companies who work with the airplane companies, and there you do the carbon objects. The carbon objects, they are very light but very stable. And we made experiments within this research project using braiding machines for getting like a very fast object. So if you do 3D, sometimes you need hours to get a 3D garment dispatch, hours to get the energy. The robot works without the object, so you can create the object and have it in the feedback of the object. So it's a very fibers of our department, Fashion and Technology, but she also works on this. And this was a collaboration with they have this very braiding machine. It's also accessible, and it was very nice that they gave us access for 1 week to our braiding. this is, I also mentioned in the beginning about this project, I mentioned in the beginning that we also work on biomaterials. And in fact, tomorrow, Emanuel Golub and Miriam Eichinger, who also work on this PEAK project, on this fashion and robotic projects, they will tomorrow present how we work with the industrial robot to grow 3D garments with biomaterials. We managed to grow a 3D pants, a little pants, with the help of robots, and the robot is somehow the nutrition agent. He feeds the bacteria. So I invite you to listen to this talk tomorrow. Now, until now, I showed you like how we work with digital technology for analog digital, but more for analog processes to have new values and emotion in the analog projects. But now I make a very short excursion to digital garments. I was a lot hesitating to show you this very old work. This is now 22 years old, and it was still done with a Unix machine. It was not even PC based. But in fact, with this work, I can show what I want to say about the digital garments. And in fact, in the digital, already 22 years ago in this work, for us, it was really important, the identification with the avatar. So if we work in the virtual worlds, it's like a lot like, who is the avatar and what identity does he transport with the aesthetic? And already 22 years ago, we questioned a lot if an avatar needs a garment at all, or if an avatar needs a body. And so with this work, we somehow substituted the garment first by having garments which do not work in reality. Then we substituted the movement, the real movement, so they are floating. Then we substituted the body, and finally also the garment, because we think that maybe we can work with complete different aesthetics in the digital world. And I think for the designers, for the next generation of designers, I think this has a huge potential in the sense of creative possibilities in the virtual world. And here I want to show you a work from a MA student. He's now a PhD student in England. And he's a dancer. Previously, actually, he's a dancer. And as a dancer, his body is his tool. And so he used his body to create the material. So in fact, he used images of his past. He transformed these pictures with AI because he did not want them to be recognized. And then he mapped his own past as a material on the body and as a material as a garment. And I think it's also a very good example how you put emotional value and emotional binding into your virtual objects or avatars. This I know. Another example I want to show you, it's the work also of a student, MA student, is Tania Perez Hernandez. And she's very much interested in physics and law of physics. So she experiments a lot. She tries to simulate state in physics what we cannot see in reality. So also here I have a movie. Like here, she tries to collide objects, and by this colliding, the objects destroys and becomes something new. So you are in a physical state, but by colliding, you become in a kind of new physical state. So she's finishing her master soon, but she also makes a lot of interesting experiments with the virtual reality. And as a next example, I would like to show you the work of Barbora. She's a BA student. She finished her BA, and she found a very appealing old dress in a museum. This is a dress from 1911 from a Jewish designer, and it was exposed in a museum. And she wanted to do something with this. And instead of recreating in a pseudo-realistic way this garment by making pattern and everything, she experimented with scanning technology. So she scanned in different ways. She used different methods of scanning the garment, and some scanners, they also scanned the environment. So somehow the environment became part of this scan. And here this shows pretty much what it is, digital. It's a Querschnittsmaterie. It's just a view, or it's an interpretation of reality, but it's not reality. We always try to show it in a realistic way, but it is not. And here it's very honest. It's this digitally scanned garment. And here then she made different experiments in the digital. And here on the right, you see that she recreated the real analog garment out of it, inspired by this approach in the digital. So this very old garment had a kind of rebirth in 2022. And the last topic I would like to focus on, it's something, we have the VR, we can experiment VR, and I think here we have a lot of potential today to work more with the possibilities in VR. But if we speak about digital fashion, we also use the digital fashion for prototyping, of course, for the real prototyping. And here, I think also we have still a lot of potential to work more with the fabric parameters. So for this research project, we measured sports fabrics, and then we simulated the garment, and we looked where in this movement a garment is tensed and not tensed, and we tried to put this with a certain garment construction in the garment to have somehow the more stretchiness and less stretchiness in the garment. And what I want to say with this, I think everything what is simulation today, or garment simulation, we also heard this morning, that with regards to prototyping, I think today we are able to measure the fabric in a very accurate way. We are also able to simulate the garment in an accurate way, but we have to make this more transparent. I think we need much more exchange between the tools, that we know the algorithm behind, that we can really judge if a virtual prototype is accurate or not. And if we really allow accurate simulation, we can replace finally the real prototypes and be more sustainable. But we need a more effort in the standardization of fabric measurements and standardization of simulations, and then allowing this a more accurate simulation. And I would like to terminate the presentation here.
Yes, thank you very much, Christiane. And I already have made some notes for questions. And again, so everyone who has questions, please write them in the Q&A section so that I can ask them later. And now it's up to Anna.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for the presentation, Christiane. I would love to follow up on some topics. It's like so interesting and also exciting to see the viewpoint, like on research side, on like the university work you do, and like also having all these different kind of approaches in regards of like product development, product creation, and digital development. Especially this is a field I worked in the past. So I'm today presenting in behalf of the Fabricant, but also like presenting really myself as the fashion director at the Fabricant. I started in the company over 1 year ago, coming from the physical space, where I also want to give like some insights why I changed the field from like physical fashion designer to digital. And I want to follow up with my presentation today. So starting a bit with the intro of like what is the Fabricant doing, who we are, and then also showing the current status of digital fashion, or how we exploring the current status of digital fashion actually, and then also deep dive a bit more on like the wardrobe of the metaverse. This all will lead to like also sustainability, but mainly I also want to like show the opportunities of digital fashion, which we actually explored with ourselves by handling projects. And fashion does not need to be physical to exist. I pressed pause for this one. This was, I think, some years ago in 2018, the first video I saw about like digital fashion. And for me, it was absolutely mind blowing. I was working for Hugo Boss as a conventional fashion designer, running through like several product groups, had some experience, running through several seasons and seeing that there's quite a lot of repetition when you work as a fashion designer in the industry, especially if you work for a company who's like also, quite big. So I saw at this point like this video, and it really made my mind change at this point. Saw before something like digital fashion running in this way, the level of detail as you see it here, so comparable to other things I recognized in the surrounding of like digitizing garments were more coming from the gaming section, also like on a lower quality. And what I saw here actually was really like also building a gap from like fashion to like art, which I also find kind of like very interesting, to even like question marks the fashion industry at a certain point, presenting digital fashion on like a desert one space and having an audience in the surrounding just layered on like some fabric cloth. So this was kind of like where my journey started with the Fabricant, and mainly also where like the Fabricant was founded in 2018, running by this project. So what you saw here was the first project from like Amber J. Slotin and Carrie Murphy, who are our co-founder and like founders of the Fabricant. And they built like the first digital fashion show in 2018, just running by like fashion design talent, like student. Amber just like finished her collection and finished studying, and the VFX artist who came like more from a marketing space and creating this kind of project just to like visualize garments just in a digital way. It went quite successful. I think they wrote through like several exhibitions at this point, and there was already like some attention coming from like the fashion industry. Also some other projects were based more like on marketing campaigns. But I think the next big milestone they discovered were in 2019. And again, I was not working for the Fabricant at this point. And it was again something I was very suspect of, like what is happening in the industry was like the first digital only garment built on a blockchain, sold for $9,500 at this point. And I have another slide where I want to give like a bit more explanation to it. In 2020, more and more designers requested, or fashion brands internationally requested, like to collaborate with the Fabricant. And the Fabricant was always like not only seen as a like marketing agency, it was also seen as a community where you can explore digital fashion and try things out. So this is also a lot about like how can we interact with fashion brands and like showing them new opportunities. One big brand where we're also very proud of was Off-White at this point, with Virgil Abloh. He always had a great vision of fashion and like integrating it in different ways, and coming to the Fabricant and asking for a collaboration was a quite like interesting thing to see also his viewpoint on it. Then another year later, 2021, which is like last year, was also first digital only Vogue magazine cover. I show you later the cover in detail, and also what we created for Vogue at this point. And then the last point, just to give like a short overview. As mentioned, the Fabricant is mainly not acting as a simple agency as most other companies behave. We try more to create a platform by building our own collections in collaboration with our community. So it's not only our design team who's developing collections, we also interact with other partners. And in this case, actually, for 2022 and 23, we plan to launch our own collection, where we also want to show like what kind of status or current status we see for digital fashion. So coming back to the iridescent dress, which was like one of the first items where I think people got attention to digital fashion. I can remember at this point, no one understood, and it was quite confusing for the most people why someone would buy a dress which is only digital and what kind of a set you even get out. I don't want to spread too many like words coming from like the digital fashion industry or which market we actually are, but I hope the most of you know the word NFT, which means that you can create a digital art and also having a value on the digital art you're creating and even tracking who's the owner of this artwork, which was before not possible or like quite tricky. I think most of art before was always physical. You needed to have like a limited print edition. You had like art which was really painted or sculptures. Yeah, so all kind of art, and having the first time like also a sellout for like digital artwork was quite new in the industry. And yeah, this all happened before even they had a name for it. So NFT is a current name if you think of like digital art and how to sell it. And there's also NFT is like such a deep topic. I don't want to go too further with it, but you have like also quite a lot of like opportunities you can create like with your digital art. And that's just like one of the dresses. So it was sold on an online platform, and the current owner also had the opportunity to use the 3D object of the garment and dress his wife in the garment. So besides owning like a 3D object, including the textures, he got also the opportunity to like dress up once in this garment, which was quite cute that he dressed his wife in it. And then what I also showed in the beginning, one of our milestones was like becoming a cover of Vogue Singapore. So Vogue Singapore is like, I would say one of the Vogue magazines, which is also like technology-wise, like very open-minded. I think they were like one of the first like wanted to start collaboration. And what you see here, indeed, the cover was like a QR code you were able to scan, and this were linking you to an online platform where you were able to buy like all these covers. So it was like several sections of covers then. And not only one by us, it was several artists who provided the cover. And then you were able to like buy it again as a digital art piece. And yeah, you see, 2019, it was still an old iPhone with a button on the bottom, which is kind of funny. We created the artwork, as you see, in the center. And this was also, based on like a digital model, a digital mannequin called Shawong Wong. She's also a digital artist, creating this like own personality by herself. Where we also added next to this as an experience, where on the right side you see an AR filter. So the crown on this image was also an AR filter, which you were able to wear during the publication of like this Vogue magazine. Yeah, and then coming back to like us by ourselves, the Fabricant. So as mentioned, we're actually working on our own collection, but it's not only an own collection we want to like translate to the metaverse. Actually, it's a full experience where we invite like our people or our community to like discover themselves and like finding their personality they want to reach in the metaverse. So we invite everyone actually, and I think we start like by end of this month, we invite everyone to like join our platform and becoming part of this movement and building with us together like the next discussion and digital experience. So here you see like one animation we created for the Venice Biennale this year. And it also is one of the first items we will have on our marketplace next year. Sorry. Yeah, coming back to sustainability, since this is like the main part of this presentation, I don't want to like link it out. And what kind of like, I don't want to start to like read any numbers in regards of sustainability, especially I have the feeling whenever it comes to like opportunities, people also just like start to reach out to like, finding the avocado in each project. So means finding like some dirty part where you still have a kind of pollution in it. I think for everyone is clear how much pollution and how much like wastage it creates like with a conventional fashion industry, which we have actually. And there's no question mark behind. There are like already a lot of like marketing campaigns running in the fashion industry, which called like sustainability or being responsible. But in fact, I have the feeling as long as you buy garments, you also participate on this like cycle of like pollution. And I even by myself for sure cannot like exclude myself. I still love to buy fashion and like exploring fashion. And I think this also leads to like the consumer's behavior that we can actually not change. What we see is like a lot of like demonstrations. Fridays for Futures is happening like every week. And there's a young generation which is like going on the streets and like fighting for their future. But on the other side, we also see like since Corona is like slightly slowed down, people start to continue traveling. They meet like in real life. And it's even like we're not able to change our behavior. And as long as we're not getting the consequences in a near future. And this is why I have the feeling, we need to find like solutions which probably actually not existing, and we need to explore more and like giving also sustainable actions like a chance for the future. Why I'm saying this is also because, every time I'm like presenting digital fashion as a solution to become more sustainable, for sure, I'm hearing the argument digital fashion still costs like CO2, like pollution in the environment. Working with like digital fashion as NFTs, there's like the blockchain, which is also kind of like creating a high pollution. But in general, I think we should see the opportunities of digital fashion and what the future can bring with it. So this is why we created this quote, like, we waste nothing but data and exploit nothing but our imagination. And this leads also to like my background as a conventional fashion designer. When I was working for Hugo Boss, I think it was like around 4 or 5 years ago, I saw this video created by like Amber and Carrie, and was so fascinated that I really wanted to explore by myself how can I like integrate this kind of like digitization into our workflows. At this point, I was running the jersey department and was quite interested to like learn a software which creates this kind of garments. There's like a very easy to learn, I would say, solution which is called Clothes 3D. Mainly if you see the interface of Clothes 3D, it's very much related to like setting up a physical garment. You have like your 2D pattern space where you have your pattern pieces, same as you would have when you were like a dressmaker, which you sew and stitch together. And then you have also a visualization window where you can see your garments directly translated on the body. And here you see an example how this translation looks in the software as well. So we also started in Hugo Boss at this point working on DPC projects and also integrating this in our workflows, which was kind of like more easy when you go to the jersey product line. We have mostly basic fits, and we don't need to do fittings as you saw in Christiane's presentation, like this heat map, how can a garment fit on a body. We excluded this actually from the project because we considered like, the measurements of like a garment specific of the fabric, and then also having the perfect avatar body type is quite tricky. So this is a status I had like from like around 2 or 3 years ago, that we said, okay, we focus on what we want, and and I wanted to get back my creativity. So mainly what we used like this digitization for was like to explore prints. How can we place prints on t-shirts? How can we place all over prints like on garments? What kind of like details and solutions can we place on a garment? So if I go, for example, here on the t-shirt, you see a placement of a print. The regular process we had before was like that we sent out a print to our vendor, which was probably like in Asia. So we sent it over like something to China to print us a garment, getting like the prototype back after some weeks, and then like reviewing this in the company, like with the group, making comments and then sending it back. So we had like 2 or 3 fittings for each garment every season. And if you think we had seasons like with 70 garments, it's quite a lot, which you have to like chip back and forth in the fashion cycle. So this was like the first point where we wanted to like improve and getting like less usage of like physical prototypes in our processes. And it went quite well that we like expanded this digital fashion to also other product groups. So actually what I'm showing here is even not the project from Hugo Boss. It's like from Puma, and it was like Puma was coming to like the Fabricant and asked like to digitize physical garments for them to use them for B2B customers, especially if you have showrooms that you can like present something. And I think especially in the beginning of Corona, the request and demand turned out quite high. And this I also explored when I was working for Hugo Boss. We were not able to travel by person to the showrooms any longer. And that's why like we needed to like find solutions how we can present the collection and bring it to merchandising in an easier stage. And we developed this kind of like workflow with digital garments. There were also other solutions on hand where you had like probably just like photo shoots of the garment. But again, if you do photo shoots of a garment, you need a finished garment with all the details already and showroom piece, which you can present mainly on the later stage. And like this DPC projects can really help you to involve like this kind of like overview and merchandising process in an earlier stage. Also, again, like collections was kind of like something we wanted to trigger more with the digital garments. Especially, we recognized that we had a lot of garments which just like underline the story and probably not bestsellers. So to create like full looks, and mannequins also help to like support the merchandising in this process. And even visualize the ideas and creating color flows. So even you think like this is still a B2B process, and like how is it improving like the full wastage of the environment? If we think back of like how much items we produced each year on prototypes, we came to a number of like 100,000 garments alone by Hugo Boss by one product line, which is a massive amount. If you like count it down, if you improve everything like with the digital creation process, you reduce like the amount of prototypes so much. I think we were able like in the jersey product group to improve like having instead of like 1.6 garments for each collection prototype, we had just 1.1. And you just have to imagine that we had some bestseller items which we didn't need to prototype, and we had other items which we had to like prototype several times during a collection. And therefore we had a massive amount which we already like saved during like the first year of exploration. Oh, one too far. And then again, like even to translate it to B2C customers, this was the next step. How can we like build up like a story really based on like an emotional process? And I think this is one of a very good example, and still clients coming to us and requesting kind of like the same story as this one. It was the integration of the garments on the avatar with animations and like cloth simulation. And I think I'm just showing you the video. So this was a visualization for Puma at this time based on like the collection we created like as a DPC project, and like then furthermore also creating marketing content with them. So now I already see like, because starting my process and my own journey like in digital fashion and learning and developing myself more, I already see like some parts which I would love to improve, and even see like, okay, this could be like even on a higher level of realism. But I think at this point when this video was launched, everyone again was like very much mind blown away. Like, how can we like integrate this full process? Still to mention like this process, like if you do internal as a company, starting with your DPC projects or like your own development processes to reach like a certain level of quality, it takes like quite a long time, and you also need like a team of like experts on it. So I think this is also what actually makes the Fabricant very unique, that we like a mix of like physical fashion designers who really come just from the physical space, and we all studied or like learned fashion design. And then we have the other part of VFX artists and 3D artists who start to create and like develop everything into it. To create like this high level of realism, it's really necessary that you have this understanding of like pattern creation, because sometimes if I see other projects, even if I go like to Pixar or like Disney, I think they do really beautiful visualization. If I go in the gaming section, this is even another field, and I think Clemens knows best. But yeah, if we want to like do the simulation actually based like with this animations, we need to like really achieve like this physical based like pattern knowledge, physical based like fashion design knowledge. How is the behavior like of like seams? What is the behavior of stitchings? What kind of shadows is created by a washing? What kind of washing types we have when we create a garment? And I think this was a very much learning process between me and the VFX and fashion design team. This is also why I want to show like the next project, which was the first project I was involved, or I was starting as a creative lead like at the Fabricant. Yeah, this was like my first project, and I can tell you this was like quite like challenging for me, because I know the software Close 3D, but as a follow-up to create like this high quality content, you need definitely other software to render out this high quality images, which means there's like a team following up on all the stuff we created with the fashion team, and also to explain them in a very well way, like what kind of details we want to achieve when we have kind of like this puffer jacket. There's like puckering effects, there's like translucency in the garment, there's transparency in the garment. All the light reflections need to be covered. And I think the viewpoint of fashion designer has is like quite good, but then it's also like, how can you translate it like to the 3D background? And what I learned during the past year or over the past years, like really exciting, and even showing us that we need to explore a new field as fashion designer and learning more how we translate like physical aspects into the digital world. Yeah, and then I also want to show another project. So this was like my second project, and we worked together with H&M. It was a white label project. That means again that we acted as an agency and just like providing content for them. Why we worked with H&M together and at this point was like that they asked us to create a digital only collection, and we were quite keen to like have an interaction with a fast fashion company who is like, yeah, want to explore like a new way of working, and want to explore also what kind of like setup we could have like with just digital fashion. So I paused this video. And yeah, we created 3 looks for the sustainability campaign for H&M. We're always like a digital available. The use case we wanted to achieve was that people can submit their own images, and then with renderings, you place a garment on top of the image. And I will also show some more examples later on. So what you saw here is like that Maisie Williams was running as a sustainability ambassador. Yeah, we had like this photo shooting with a green screen, and then we had also another team who was recording like the scene on the streets. And me and the fashion team were then like creating like this digital garment. And this was one of my favorite pieces, which you actually see here. You see it, like the orange sweater. And this one was kind of like a knitted piece, and I wanted to translate it also like in a digital word, like what could mean knit like in a digital word, like having more like cables running through with like electricity, and like creating really something which you could not like use in like the real world. So mainly what I wanted to show in regards of like sustainability is like the opportunities companies could achieve when they work like with digital agencies together. So it's like the DPC projects, like the samples, the integration of prototyping. Either you run like together with the agency, or in regards of like Hugo Boss, we really try to like create our own like company. And when I was working for Hugo Boss, this was like my responsibility. So I started as like a fashion designer, and then like slightly went over to a full position as a project manager, and we're leading like the creative teams to create like and integrate like creative processes in their daily business. Then also the opportunity to have like this B2B sales, marketing opportunities, but also like furthermore creating immersive spaces. And therefore, I want to give like a bit of an outlook. I think we're running already a bit late. I think I talked a bit too much in the beginning. So sorry. I'm just like at the half, but I think I will just run through like the other slide is a bit faster. So why is it an example of circular economy? So yeah, actually what the main message should be like for the Fabricant is like, that we even don't want to create like physical pieces and have the utility of like dressing you in a physical space. It's also less than branding. The meaning of like fashion mainly leans to like branding. You buy garments because they're coming like from a big brand. What we see ourselves and position ourselves is more the art section. That's why we're creating garments which you would like only wear digital, and like we want to showcase actually like several opportunities. One big opportunity we mainly started with really like photo imagery, that you make a photo of yourself and you can dress yourself with a digital garment. This process is still very manual. So all the garments you see here actually are digital, but yeah, to place them on your body, you still need to like, drape the garment on an avatar, render it out, and then with Photoshop, you place it on top of it. So it's like a very, still like a long process behind. We also see the opportunity of AR and experimenting more and more with it. So maybe you didn't recognize, but my earrings are not real. They're also digital. And here's like one example where we created like this digital gown for the for a fashion show, and also integrated like a AR filter. I think the opportunity for the future is actually you see the garments not matching well, and you still have like a lot of issues. The main problem is that the technology we're using are actually the technology of the end customer, which means like you use your phone device to like track this AR. This is actually limiting us from the volume wise, but also there's still like this body tracking, which is a bit loose. Definitely this topic will run more and more, and there's like a lot of like people who investigate in it, as well as us, to give this opportunity to dress you even better and easier in the future. But I also see the opportunity to use it for fitting rooms and even improving like the workflow that you order online garments and send them back. You could fit them with an AR filter and have the opportunity to like do a fitting before you order. And also here I wanted to show this example of like we fitted. We had a collaboration with the Zeus Museum, so it's another example of like digitizing fabrics and garments. We had a collaboration with the Zeus Museum, who's like based in the Netherlands and like has also like a big selection and an archive of like historical pieces. The fashion team of the Fabricant traveled there and had to look into like the pattern pieces they created. So they have really also like this paper patterns, which you can use then. We digitized one of the garments. And my part of this one was also to digitize this historical jacquard. So based on like a PDF file, I was able to create like a mask in Illustrator, translated it to another software, which is called Substance Sampler. And there I was able to even create like this, you see actually there's a bump map, there's a height, there's also a glowing effect. And this you can also very easy actually create as a fashion designer with the software. And here also another project, I think this was something we showed like in Art Basel in Miami. It was a collaboration with another digital artist together. And we wanted to create like an immersive space for Art Basel Miami, where we want to show it's even not necessary to have like a physical space you have to attend. The people were able to like track actually this avatar with the floating garment in the room and seeing like the garment via AR on their phone. So real isn't necessarily physical, value always subjective. And here are also some examples like integration of like us with other gaming engines. Star Atlas, for example, is one of them we collaborated with. So this is kind of like a metaverse integration where we see future opportunities. Star Atlas is actually like not very well known. There are also others. This was like, again, this dress like where we created AR of. We had like a digital fashion show during Corona where we wanted to show that fashion shows also don't need to be like physical to exist. And then another opportunity was also creating a fashion show in Decentraland. This is probably a bit more like known. So here we also had the opportunity to like interact already with an existing metaverse, which is called like Decentraland. As you see, every metaverse has kind of like their own setup. Here's also another example, which is called Sandbox. So you have actually like the several types of where you integrate things. The tricky thing actually for the fashion industry is like how you can translate all this kind of like garment assets from high quality renderings to this gaming engines. And this is actually where we mainly focus on work to create this translation. And I think I also want to end this presentation here because I'm already over time. And yeah, I hope you enjoyed it. And I'm really curious to know like your questions. As mentioned, we have a Discord channel to participate. It's like something where you really interactive can be involved, like in creation of like our fashion opportunity in future. Thank you.
Thank you very much. And again, please write us questions in the Q&A section if you have questions. The first thing that I would like to ask you both is obviously what we have seen, digital prototyping is a really great chance in regards of sustainability. So my question is, how important is what do you think? How important is an interchange standard? Is there something on the rise? Is there because we heard there are so many platforms, so many software, and nothing comes really together. And coming from the gaming background, I know how hard it is to even translate a digital file from one software to another. And here you talking about a physical product at the end and so on. So I can imagine it's much harder. Is there something on the rise, or are we still there and no solution is, and you can see no solution?
Yeah, Christiane, do you want to start, or?
I can maybe more speak with the fabric measurements and with this input parameter side. I think there are initiatives since very long time, also a lot during the PA Apparel. There's the 3D Apparel Coalition. Yeah, but I think it's the everything what is simulation related, it's software related, and there are business models of each software. So obviously they have to protect somehow the software. So if you exchange on a deeper level the files, obviously you give a lot from your source code. And so they have to, so I think it's the moment, I mean, you already spoke about CLO, Anna, but there are also others. And yeah, so I have different companies work with different software and they all try to protect. So I think it's not obvious, even from the scientific point of view. I think we pretty much know what to do and we know what standards we need and we know, but then we have to work with the software companies that they implemented. And I think this would again boost a lot, everything what is digital.
Yeah, I think there's also a point of kind of expectations for a customer viewpoint, not depending on B2B or B2C or even internally of a company, but I also recognize that it's quite hard to reach the expectations of people when it starts to digital prototyping. And I think it's also a point of changing the mindset and being open to integrate this workflow into your existing workflow. And this can also be very cost intensive to build your own department in your company, and also finding vendors who are collaborating on this digital path. But I think during the past years, what I explored was that also vendors more and more keen of digital developments. They also train in themselves in sections. And then again, yeah, as Christiane mentioned, it really depends which software you use, because if my vendor is using a different software but my vendor has probably clients who work in 3 different kind of softwares, and it's again very hard to onboard and having your team using all this 3D software. So an alignment is very important. And then also coming back to Christiane's point, the transparency in the industry is also something which is super important. Normally in fashion industry, we have kind of this elbow structure where everyone is fighting for themselves. The first time I didn't explore it was when I was working in 3D, because we had partnerships with Adidas, and also Chloe is quite keen to connect all the customers together and offering this summits every year. So we were also able to meet other design teams from Bershka, from Inditex General, from also smaller German brands. And I think this is very important to really work on this topic together and having your achievements, because then you can start to look into the creation process by itself and build your own workflow.
Maybe I can add something.
We have a question.
Can add something important from our students, because this is something important. We always try to focus on open source solution, because there are open source. For example, you have Blender. You are not absolutely dependent. So for us, we really want to also strengthen our students and the new startups and the new businesses, and not just the existing. And they cannot afford all these solutions from the digital. So we need also new solutions. So if we can, we always go for open source.
And yeah, I agree. That's cool.
The first question that we have is a really excellent one, and I think it fits perfectly here. The question is, the traditional know-how of design education is no longer sufficient, and so what kind of skill set is needed for students in the future? And I would like to add something to this question, because coming from the gaming industry, I see that the technology and 3D has changed enormously over the last years, and the skill set that we needed 3-4 years ago is totally different to the skill set today, especially with the rise of AI. There is a real fear of 3D artists that they are not longer needed. So I would like to give the question to you, and I already heard you using a lot of gaming technology. Yeah.
Yes, I mean, I don't know. Do you want to start, Anna? Or
no, it's fine. Let's go ahead.
For us, we started with our degree, or with the fashion and technology in 2015, and pretty much from the beginning, as I come from the digital and from digital fashion, we started from the first semester that they have digital courses. So they have contemporary fashion design, we have the fashion project, and next to it, they learn Rhino, they learn Blender, they learn CLO. In the third semester, they start robotics, they start programming. So it's little courses, and if they like something, because maybe they like CLO, or maybe they like the digital fashion, maybe they like robotics, then they can go deeper. Then they have advanced courses, but we really try to do this in parallel. So they get it, and then they can more intertwine it with their fashion project when they go further to the bachelor or master degree.
Yeah, I think, I agree. And even like thinking of a younger generation, they're so much easier to adapt, and they're not like so strict. I think I'm still coming from a generation where really people doubting to make this knowledge and learning. But I think, actually it works quite well to have like a combination of a 3D artist and a fashion designer, but still like the fashion designer needs all the technical knowledge, at least understanding what's happening in the 3D software and how you render high quality out. So this is everything you need to add. And then I think AI is like such a big and great topic. I'm seeing actually things, and I'm thinking like, well, I'm still investing like days to create like a beautiful animation just for myself, and then like seeing AI and they do it like with some prompts. But I think there's still a creative mind behind. You need to like train it. Not everyone wants to do it in this way, but I see also AI as a big opportunity to help and support us to create even better and more content. And I think it's quite impressive what's actually happening.
Anna, people are loving your earrings, it looks like, and they are asking where you can buy them and which software do you use, and which 3D software you consider the best and for rendering.
Cool, thanks. Actually, this pair of earrings we will launch next year, and we still start our journey as mentioned. So we want to really build this immersive space actually. So if you want to participate, follow us on Instagram, and there's like a link tree. You can find the Discord channel, and then you can like participate and becoming part of a whitelist. All this project is like intersection of like this NFT section and NFT market and the fashion industry. So we try to educate also the people to get like new ways of thinking and new ways of like behavior, how to consume fashion. And coming back to the technical aspects, I think the earrings are modeled in Blender, and then we actually using it's Lens Studio from Snap Lens. We use this one to create our AR, because actually this has the best integration of like chain systems. You see, it's like running through all the things you can actually not quite well cover if you use like Instagram or like TikTok solution. So Snap Studio or Lens Studio from Snapchat is like actually the best one. And all these effects are kind of like templates and libraries you can add. So it's very easy. I was wondering how easy it is to create your own fashion filter. So if you just open the software by yourself, it's also open source, so everyone can try it. By the way, next week I have a workshop on AR to show fashion students how easy it is to create it. It's definitely something fashion students should integrate in their collections just to explore. And like, I think it's also something which is kind of like an wow effect when you print your collection and having like more these immersive spaces.
You mentioned a couple of times, you mentioned the metaverse, and then you said there are a couple of metaverse solutions right now, and at the moment there's the metaverse is still something like a vision. So I just want to clarify, what do you support at the moment, and about what metaverse are you talking?
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe this is already a metaverse because we meet like in a digital room and start to have like a background which is made up and like wearing already the first items. I think, actually we're still in the beginning of a metaverse, and it's kind of like a word which came up like during the last year, and we still need to discover what it means. I explored that in the beginning. It was still something people like doubting and were not like using that much, or even, didn't want to have an integration in their daily business or life. Now it starts to be more and more like common, especially like with Facebook and Meta. I think the knowledge of the people are getting quite better on like what could a metaverse be. In general, I see it as a digital space where you can meet. And as mentioned, we on like 1992 of the internet, it was also like something you had no idea what's happening in 1 year or in 5 years. And I think it's the same with like the metaverse. We still can go in so many directions, but it's a digital space. And to just like use another word, it's real-time rendering was what I also see. So all this like high quality rendering images you saw is kind of like something static you can present, and everything metaverse related is something where you have your own avatar and you can walk through a world and like discover like the world. So it's more gamification.
We have a question that is digitalization is can be a barrier because it's expensive and you have to keep up with all the new technology, data, and so on. And how can you assure that this doesn't no, it jumped, so I couldn't read the question anymore. Those who can't afford to take part or work in that environment, exactly. I think I got the idea. I would like to add it to this question. We have seen high-end 3D scanning and we have seen low-end 3D scanning from Christiane. And I think this shows something that is really important at the moment. We have these high-end tools on the one side, but on the other side, we have software that is free and you can use, and 3D scanning is a perfect example for me because you can do it now with nearly every iPhone in a really good quality. And 3 years ago, it was really expensive. Yeah, but maybe you can answer the question better than I.
Maybe I start. Some things are very fast, but others are very slow. I have the feeling if we speak of 3D software like Blender or all I have the feeling we still have the same windows. We have things, we have much faster simulations. We have new materials. So I think I think maybe it's a big challenge in the beginning also for our students to once enter in this and to try out things. And then if you know one software and then you know the principle, I think then you develop quite fast, you know a bit what it's about. Or if you speak about NFT, I think you have to do it once. Or if you speak about AI, it sounds very mystic. But then if you do once a text-to-image tool and you try it out and then you see, oh, wow, it's not that difficult. So I think from my students, the experience is just try it out and just do an example, and then I think it's going. This would be my advice.
Yeah, super cool. And maybe one software I also want to add is like Unreal Engine. I think this is for free, actually. They have a lot of tutorials running. So similar, so it's not like substituting Blender, but I think to investigate like an Unreal is a very good choice, especially if you want to like be as a young talent making your first steps in the industry. It's always like a request to know Unreal, and there's like a lot of job opportunities. And for companies as well, like having Unreal Engine integrated in workflows means you reduce times for rendering, you have easy integration of like gamification later on. You can even explore like AR and AI. I think they have also AI plugins. So Unreal is like actually my favorite software.
Yeah, in the gaming industry, there are at the moment two major softwares. The Unreal and the Unity software. Yeah, those and the Unity is focuses more on the open exchange and on the platform that you can exchange assets and so on. And Unreal on the high-end rendering side is more the focus, but both engines are used for, I would say, 99% of the games at the moment. So
you team, you team Unity then?
I would just say use both and don't focus on one, because both are free to begin with, and both are great engines, and you can't say one is better as the other. It's just it depends, and I would recommend to have a look at both. So, but we are unfortunately at the end of the panel. So I say thank you again to both of you. It was really a pleasure to talk with you. And I personally have a lot of things where I think we could do a follow-up.